Merhaba. That's the only thing I can say in Turkish. I really tried, I can't remember it anymore. You just said what search engine optimization is. Arama motor optimization. Yeah? That's, I love it. I love it. Yeah, okay. Has anyone seen a presentation from me before? I have a lot of slides. I have 20 minutes and I have 220 slides for you today. I don't know what this means in Turkish, but it is a lot of slides. But I hope you like it. Enjoy. It's called The Rise of the Machines. So hi, I'm Marcus. On Twitter, I'm the Media Adonis. I'm the widest member of the Achua tribe in the middle of the Ecuadorian rainforest. And together with my two congenial co-founders, Merlin and Andy, we're aiming to build the most comprehensive technical SEO software on the planet. It's called Onpage.org. We just love all aspects of on-page SEO, and we truly believe it's the future. I would like to start with a quick story. I started talking publicly about online marketing and SEO about 16, 17 years ago, although back then it was more about Yahoo and Alta Vista. And I remember quite vividly when in 1999, someone from the audience asked me if I had heard of a search engine called Google before. And I'm like, I've never heard of it. What is it? And he's like, well, it's two college dropouts from the US, and they have coded a search engine, and you don't even have to submit your site. And I was like, that is stupid. If I don't submit my site to them, how would they know that my site even exists? And he said, well, they follow the hyperlinks through the web to discover new pages. And then I said, well, I was very cocky back then. I said, well, listen to me. I'm in this business for so long. Do you really think two college dropouts can just come here, code a search engine, and can take on powerhouses like Yahoo and Alta Vista? Do you really think that? Does anybody still remember Yahoo and Alta Vista? Yeah, right. So, but my point here is, they have revolutionized search. And so the linking game began. When Google started in Germany in 2000, I basically grew up with them and their algorithms. But what I didn't realize at that time was that they might have revolutionized search, but it's not about search. I read a great article on Wired.com a while back. So in 2002, back in the time when Google was still perceived a lot differently, just read this out loud here. Google is a pure search engine. No weather, no news feed, no links to sponsors, no ads, no distractions, no portal litter, nothing but a fast-loading search site. Reward them with a visit. And the reporter asked Larry Page, Larry, I still don't get it. There's so many search companies. Web search for free? Where does that get you? And then Larry Page said something very interesting. And remember, this is 2002. Larry Page said, oh, we're really making an AI. So artificial intelligence. Rather than use AI to make its search better, Google is using search to make its AI better. They have realized something very, very long ago. It's an excellent example of their always curious, very long-term strategy approach. Every time you type a query, click on a search-generated link, or create a link on the web, you are training the Google AI. So when you type Easter Bunny into the image search bar, and then click on the most Easter Bunny-looking image, it's a pretty scary one actually, you are teaching the AI what an Easter Bunny looks like. And each of the 12.1 billion queries that Google's 1.2 billion searchers conduct each day tutor the deep learning AI over and over again. And with the help of Google's new captcha, they've managed to even supersize that effort. And let me quote from the article again. By 2024, Google's main product will not be search, but AI. So they are investing heavily in machine learning. Google search quality head, Matt Cutts, said something very interesting during his keynote at PubCon. He said, we're actually trying to teach Google to learn and to read at some sort of elementary school level, or even grade school, like a school kid. Well, it's over 15 years old by now, so it should be able to pass standardized tests. AI is getting pretty good. Japanese engineers have already learned AI robots to cook just by watching lots of YouTube videos. Well, I can imagine that's how Skynet started out as well. And Sergey Brin just said it during a fireside chat with Vinod Koshler. He said, you should presume that someday we will be able to make machines that can reason and think and do things better than we can. And the internal name for this endeavor at Google is Google Brain. It's a Google X project founded in 2011 when Andrew Ng joined Google. And Google X is sort of a future lab, spearheaded directly by Sergey Brin, where scientists of all different kinds of subject areas think about future technologies that could become a reality in 30 or even 50 years. So very long-term projects. And Google Brain is sort of an internal service provider where certain departments can evaluate data to find potential for optimization. They've managed to reduce their margin of error with Android voice recognition by 25% within the first year. And Google Street View has profited as well. They are able to transcribe all addresses collected by Street View cars in France in less than an hour. And we're also helping the AI with this training set. It's a very popular catcher you probably all know from around the web. And Amit Singhal, though, has sort of a philosophical bias towards the use of machine learning in the field of search quality. Because if machine learning is running the show, it's not that easy to retrace why a specific page is ranking better than another, which makes it quite hard to tweak the algo if you want to give certain signals a stronger impact on the rankings of a specific page. Rule-based scoring metrics make it a lot easier for search quality engineers to attach weight on specific ranking signals, or to fight spam that is exploiting a certain loophole. Although it doesn't necessarily need to be an either-or decision, data generated via machine learning can help improve rule-based scoring metrics. You can see this quite nicely with the Panda update, which has become sort of an ongoing process rather than an incremental update. Because optimizing the ranking of ads is significantly easier with the help of machine learning, since it's effectively harder to compare the quality of two thematically similar 3-line ad snippets than the same task within the organic results. Because ranking ads is more about optimizing your profits. And, well, as you all know, they've become pretty good at optimizing their profits. But don't forget, Google is not really a search company. Google is a machine learning company. In January of last year, Google has acquired an artificial intelligence startup called DeepMind for a reported $400 million. Although this was probably more like an acqui-hire, since DeepMind is a team of 50 super brains who have been aggressively recruiting the brightest minds in AI for years. So if there's any chance to build a human brain within a computer, it's these guys. Zuckerberg actually also wanted to buy them, but, well, Google snatched them away. Yeah, that didn't turn out well. Because it's game-changing technology. One of DeepMind's conditions was the installation of a code of ethics to specify what Google is allowed to do with the technology, and most importantly, what they are not allowed to do. Because their don't be evil motto doesn't necessarily apply anymore. Larry Page just said it himself. Google has outgrown its 14-year-old mission statement. Yeah, so we have outgrown not wanting to do evil. Okay, I don't get it. Eric Schmidt has never been a fan of Google's don't be evil rule. He said, when I showed up, I thought this was the stupidest rule ever, because there's no book about evil except maybe, you know, the Bible or something. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. And they have just started. Google has very high ambitions. Models tend to become more accurate the more data they consume. And that may be the next big goal for Google, building AI models that are based on billions of data points and not just millions. we're trying to push the next level of scalability in training really, really big models that are accurate. Let me illustrate this real quick. Since the dawn of civilization until 2003, there have been over 5 trillion bytes of data generated. And today, the same amount of data gets generated within just 2 days. And it's still increasing. Last year, Google announced the launch of a quantum artificial intelligence lab in partnership with NASA. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing an A here. Sorry, how could that happen? I'm sorry. These both have bought the first quantum computer for 10 million euros, manufactured by a company called D-Wave. 2 years ago, the web manufacturer Lockheed Martin already invested in D-Wave, just like Jeff Bezos and a technology investor called In-Q-Tel, who's primarily working for this company here. Just saying. So this is how such a quantum computer looks like. Kind of reminds me of one of these old NASA computers from 1949, which nowadays would be comparable to a standard calculator. But the real quantum computer is much, much, much smaller. All the stuff around it is needed to cool it down to minus 273 degrees Celsius. Google has really been on a shopping spree lately. You know, Google is doing a lot of perspective acquisitions. I actually always call Google the FC Bayern Munich of the internet. And between September of 2013 and September of 2014, they have bought 39 companies. That's 23% of all acquisitions since 2011. Google is now the biggest manufacturer of robots. They've even bought a couple of manufacturers of military robots. Maybe they need those military robots to invade homes where they're still searching with Bing. Just saying. Yeah, they're really buying all the robots. Resistance is futile. You'll be assimilated. You think I'm taking this too far? Take a look at this picture. There's some sort of resemblance here, right? I mean, some sort of resemblance, right? But first and foremost, Google is a machine learning company. Only organic search rankings are still determined with prehistoric methods. It's time for a leap in evolution. Viva la evolución, or as I like to call it, the rise of the machines. Their ultimate goal here is to get rid of links as a direct ranking factor. Google needs to become independent from ranking factors that can be gamed from the outside. Because spam is bad for business. And Sergey Brin puts it into a nutshell. There is no spam, only bad algorithms. And I tell you, Google will throw a huge party when links are finally no longer a game-decisive ranking factor. Not to mention the guy responsible for fighting web spam at Google. Again, Matt Cutts, who has worked at Google since 2000, back when web spam was still a lot differently. Prior to that point in time, on-page optimization tips from many SEOs would have sounded something like this. Use your keywords heavily everywhere. I was also still on the dark side at that time, but eventually I turned my back on black hat SEO techniques and became a convinced white hat. Before, I always used to say, you just have to throw enough shit at Google. Something will stick. The decisive moment was a blog post in May 2007 by my good friend Rand Fishkin. It's called Why I Love the Sordid Underbelly of the Search World, where he talks about alleged black hats. And within this article he wrote, there's Marcus Tandler, who Google Dublin has been gunning for by name. I spare you the whole story. Of course, it's a huge misunderstanding. But it's not about the story anyways. It's about something different. Ren spelled my name wrong. Because I'm written with a C, not with a K. But I was actually quite happy about it, since I wasn't really keen on ranking with my real name within this context. But someone else corrected him. Matt Cutts. Fun post, but I think you got Tandler's name wrong. I believe it's Marcus, not Marcus. Yeah, and he fixed it right away. And that was the moment for me like this. Of course, today he knows that I'm a true whitehead. But we're still talking about links. So is there any real alternative? And Yandex is leading the way here. They have just announced to not use links anymore within their ranking formula. Not for all searches, but rather only commercial queries, so when you're looking to buy something. And only within the Moscow region, which sounds small, but that's quite a lot of people. It's something around 15 million people. It's about the same size as Ecuador and bigger than Greece or Portugal, which each have around 10 million residents. And so when I heard about Yandex's move not to rely on links as a ranking factor anymore, I flew to Moscow to talk to Yandex head of search, Alexander Sadovsky, to find out what Yandex is doing exactly. I first wanted to understand why it's only commercial queries for now. So I asked, what's your estimate on how many links are actually link spamming commercial verticals? And he said, the absolute majority. Because it's a whopping 98%. The SEO market is particularly juicy in Russia, which has an estimated market value of 350 million euros, of which 50% are spent on agency fees and the other 50% on links. But how exactly can Yandex rank sites without using links as a ranking factor? Based on similar features among websites, they are trying to predict how this website is going to perform on a specific position, with user intent probably being the decisive factor. So, which content management system is being used, which shop software, if any, is being used, how's the site structured. Site structure is generally one of the biggest optimization measures these days. You just don't want the search engine crawler running into any dead ends. And what's the topic of the page? In Germany, we're all about thorough TF-IDF analysis. It's not 2000 anymore. It's not about keyword stuffing or sucky SEO copywriting. It's about offering the best and most holistic content. So how many reference queries are there? So if somebody's searching for eBay, ebay.com, eBay auctions, they all probably want to go to ebay.com. What's the average content length, especially in comparison to other content ranking for this specific topic? Is the website well maintained? Stuff like how many 404 errors, what's the site speed, any broken links, use a video, always a great way to increase the dwell time on a page. How many pictures and also their quality. Having own and better pictures can be a huge advantage with commercial queries. Having better pictures can definitely be an added value, which can lead to a higher search ranking. There have been rumors for quite a while about EXIF image metadata being a potential search engine ranking factor. Actually, I don't know any spammers who are taking their own high-quality pictures. Most of them don't have anything in high quality. You know, that's sort of the business model. And the utilization of a readability index could also be possible, something like the flash reading ease, which looks something like this, basically putting average sentence length and the average number of syllables per word into correlation to determine how hard it is to read a text and who will probably understand it. According to search metrics, there's no correlation with a higher Google ranking though. But it's a lot of potential factors Yandex could be looking at. According to Alexander Sadovsky, they are using over 800 factors when trying to determine the relevance of a page. And when you have compiled all these different individual factors, you can start to predict how this specific page is most likely going to perform. Usability and user experience being the prevailing factors here. And after this, it's all about testing. But you're not only comparing user intent data with other pages ranking for that keyword, but mainly you are testing your hypothesis on how well this page is performing. If the data coincides with your hypothesis, welcome to the top 10. If not, the page is probably spam, and that's a fail. Alexander told me something else which was very interesting. They start out by testing pages in the long tail before promoting a website to the respective short tail results. I had a similar experience with Google, a good old thin German affiliate site about credit cards, which I got ranking for position number 3 in Google for the very juicy keyword Kreditkarten, so credit cards in German. Just by focusing on credit card long tail searches, where even my shitty thin affiliate site could provide value. Like when you lost your credit card or the history of the credit card, so one page session, perfect answer, giving the site great positive signals for credit card related searches. So Google gave it a boost despite any good links. And you've seen the site. Nobody links to that site voluntarily. So it ended up ranking in the very juicy short tail. Only for 3 months, though, since my site pretty much sucked up on top. And that's the obvious lesson here. It's hard to stay on top of the search results if your site sucks. So it got dumped. Yeah. Really a hard hit by Google's Panda update. Yeah, the Panda is a pretty ferocious animal. Yeah, kick it. Yay. So you have to prove yourself. If you have succeeded in satisfying the user in the long tail, you have the chance to prove yourself in the short tail. Fellow SEO Will Reynolds coined it. It's audience over algorithms. But this has nothing to do with links. You don't need links. Rand Fishkin has put it into a nutshell. The more advanced Google becomes, the more SEO feels like a bonus for getting marketing and web dev right. Another fellow SEO, Hans Kronenberg of Systrix, also found something very interesting which supports my theory. It's a unique case study about a hotel website, hotel-bonn.de. Bonn is a city, so you would think Hotel Bonn is a hotel in Bonn. But as it turns out, it's not. It's a hotel in Kassel, so over 250 kilometers away. And this hotel has been owned by the Bonn family for well over 400 years, which makes it a very interesting case, because this site is jumping between the third page and the first page. And all because Google is getting a lot of alleged positive signals, but the site just won't perform on the first page. Again, these jumps to the first page have nothing to do with links. And this is not only a phenomenon that only I have witnessed. Even a Googler himself, respected John Mueller, shared a similar story in a recent Webmaster Central hangout. It's not necessarily about links anymore. Although links are still important for discovery, this still prevails. Real user data can provide much more value when determining the relevancy of a website. For example, user data collected via Chrome is really a valuable treasure for Google. Google Chrome is already at almost 50% market share these days. And it's just a handful of countries where Google Chrome is not the leading browser yet. More cake for the fat kid. Chrome is like a super weapon for Google. Although Eric Schmidt was against jumping into the browser game for a long time because he was afraid of bruising browser wars. But then when they launched it, it was so good that it essentially forced me to change my mind. So on the 3rd of September 2008, Google Chrome was finally released. And on the day of its release, CNET discovered something very interesting in Google's T&Cs. All content transferred via the Chrome browser should belong to Google. As it happens, they removed this line pretty quickly, but it's still interesting to see how ambitious they were, or well, still are. They're just not saying that anymore. But seriously, 100% of all content? Are you kidding me? No. But Google seems to evaluate links with the help of the Chrome browser. They have a very interesting option activated by default. They're trying to anticipate what links you might be clicking next to prefetch and preload them, making your browsing faster and, well, training the AI in the process. So links are still important, although it doesn't even necessarily need to be real links anymore. In this patent, they talk of so-called implied links. So it might already be sufficient enough to mention a brand without explicitly linking to it, and such a mention within an article is called an implied link. The trust of this page is determined differently. There's another interesting patent filed by a Ramanathan Guha, who founded the well-known Babelfish in 1998. And he talks about so-called trust buttons. Although there doesn't need to be a physical button on the page, it's about examining web visitation patterns of the user and inferring from the web visitation patterns that the user trusts recommendation associated with the entity. So the more often I visit a specific website, the more likely I'm going to trust this page. Makes sense. But again, Google is going a bit further. They would like to examine computer-based records belonging to the user, such as an email contact list. Thank God they're running a popular email provider so they can see how often do I email with certain people? How fast do I respond to these emails? And what's the sentiment? Do I send kind regards? Or, and with cheers, buddy, it's about who do you trust to achieve a working passive search. And maybe you remember Eric Schmidt saying last year, really, our biggest search competitor is Amazon. I truly think this has been a smoke bomb, but there is some truth to it, because Amazon has a very juicy part of search share, commercial searches. Most people go directly to Amazon and don't bother to consult Google. Google tries to win this battle by extinguishing Amazon's traffic stream. If they can anticipate purchasing behavior, they can try to satisfy this need before you even think about surfing to Amazon. The future of search is not about people finding things. It's about things finding people. In regards to questions, Eric Schmidt has a different view of the future. I actually think most people don't want Google to answer their questions. They want Google to tell them what they should be doing next. Again, just to illustrate their ambitions. And he says it out loud. People aren't ready for the technology revolution that's going to happen to them. So, the struggle continues. Yay. This is slide number 220. You have done it. Thank you very much. Thank you.